This is going to explore vectors. I'm going to draw out a line by selecting the pen tool and just clicking out. I'll now press the V key, which goes to select mode. I'm going to expand the properties of this vector and going under shape. Path is the direction of the path, and you'll see in a moment from now why that's important. There's stroke, which deals with the properties of the stroke. Under stroke, I'm going to go to taper, and at the end length, I could decrease the taper of this, and I could also play with the width of the taper, but that seems to fight what I was just trying to do, making it more tapered at the end. So this parameter could be animated, and you could create this type of animation if you wanted. If I want this line to draw out onto the screen, going towards the top of content, there's this icon, little button with a triangle in it. If you click on it, I'm going to select within there the trim paths. What the trim path does has a start position, end position, and offset. So the end position means start from 0, and the end position is where does this line end. And this would create an animated line drawing out, as you can see. All that you need to do is click on the end at frame 0, go to 2 seconds later, and to switch between hour, minutes, seconds, and frames, hold down the control key, and now I'm back into frame mode. So I'll type in 60, and I'll say 100%. I'll trim the work area to here by pressing the N key. I'll play out this animation. We'll soon learn about LumaMask, which this would represent the revealing of some other image below this object. If I switch the direction of where it grows from, we could play with the start and end position as keys. Higher up was the direction of this path. And if you flip it around by clicking reverse path direction, now it draws out the other way. I'll flip it back. If you want the line to start to disappear as it's drawn on, going back to trim paths, let's say at a few frames later, we'll hit the start position. And a few frames later, let's say by frame 80, we'll pull this up to 100%. So it animates drawing on the path and then erasing the path as it moves on by. The taper for the end of the path is handled by the start and end taper lengths. So that will make it sharp towards the back of it as well. And there you can create a flowy shape. I'm going to erase this by just clicking off the keys, setting the end position back to 100%, and leaving the tapers as is. Another way to play with the trim path is just to set a length. Let's say the whole length of this line is only 20% of the whole thing. Animating the offset will move this 20% portion of this line throughout the path over and over again. So animating this, let me set this back to 0. Click on offset, and let's say I go to frame 90. N key to increase my work area to 90, and I could just drag this forward. Another video showed using scripts. Let me erase this keyframe by clicking on it, and now I'm going to option click, I'm just going to use time times 10. And there's a slow moving line. Let me do time times 100. The advantage of using scripts is that no matter how long the animation workspace is, you don't have to readjust keys. This is just an element that just keeps on flowing. I'm going to erase this offset. And to do that, just select the piece of code, press the delete key, and then click off in any area. I'm also going to increase the end to 100%. Now the line's back to normal. If I go to Illustrator and I have this illustration, and then I uncheck or hide the stroke, leaving just the path, and I copy it and go back to After Effects, I can replace this path by selecting Path and pressing Ctrl-V to paste. Going back to the start and end for the trim path, now this can be animated here of being drawn on by clicking an endpoint, going a few seconds later, let's say to frame 60, which is 2 seconds later, and drawing that out. This will only work for replacing one path at a time. Shapes can have multiple paths. If I draw out another shape here, this is a secondary path. So I could draw out a secondary shape here, and now this path could be replaced separately with another feather or another object. Opening up this shape, going to its path, selecting its path, hitting Ctrl-V, and then moving it off from that original one. So this way you can have a more complex object drawn out by drawing line by line, stroke by stroke.